live from Huntertown, Indiana. It's Soarin Hawk on the air. And here we go again today. We're going to try to introduce you to some new things. So we're just going to go right ahead here and get started. So who's the highest flyer? What's the smallest bird? What's the largest bird? Wow. Okay. And who's the fastest flyer? Who's the smallest owl? What's the lowest bird? And what is the heaviest flying bird? Well, if you just stay tuned, we're going to try to answer some of these questions. There's a lot of glare on here, I think.
I know. I can't figure out why.
Yeah, so. Yeah.
Sorry, guys.
So today we're going to talk about avian record holders, and we're going to see if we can straighten some of that out a little bit. Is that a little better? No, I don't know. We'll see. Somebody has a...
Will this be available later on Facebook? I know someone who would like to watch this. Yes, we'll save it to our Facebook page.
Yep, we'll save it out there. Okay, so today we're going to talk about avian record holders. And, of course, that includes a lot of raptors, but we're also going to talk about other birds along the way. So the largest bird, as you would probably guess, is the ostrich. So there's several races of ostrich that are found in Africa. And the North African ostrich reaches about 2.7 meters, or about, roughly, let's say about 9 feet, and weighs about 154 kilograms, which is about 85 pounds or so. And it's the fastest running bird. It can reach speeds of up to 45 miles an hour. And also it can sprint up to 100 or 60 miles an hour over short distances. Takes 12-foot strides when it runs. Also has a record for the largest egg. The eggs lay in at about 1.4 or kilograms, or about 3.1 pounds. Wow. So that'd make a few omelets, wouldn't it? And as you know, mom lays the eggs and dad incubates them and takes care of the chicks. And I've been fortunate to be in Africa there, driving along a road, and we encountered an ostrich with a trail of about 10 chicks running down the road. It's kind of like, and guess what? You don't pass. You just let them go ahead and take up as much room as they want. So, but the largest bird ever is the elephant bird. It existed up to 1,000 years ago. In fact, there is some stories that. According to one British scientist, back in around the 1800s, there were still elephant birds in existence on the island of Madagascar. But they're huge, 500 kilograms, so that's over 1,000 pounds, and over 3 meters tall, so over 10 feet tall. The eggs were larger than dinosaur eggs, and in fact, the largest single cell to exist on Earth. And they equivalent to 7 ostrich eggs. So that's a lot of egg, so that's why they were hunted out of existence, The smallest bird is the bee hummingbird, and they're found down in Cuba, and they weigh just 1.6 grams. So let's see, that works out to about 0.2 of an ounce. Yeah. Okay. In fact, maybe even less than 0.2 of an ounce. Let's see, 4 to 1.6, so it's 0.04 ounces. Okay. The males are only 57 millimeters in length, so that makes them about 0.2 of an inch in length. And their bills take up about half of it. And the females are slightly larger. So they only exist down in Cuba and on some of the islands around Cuba. The bird with the widest wingspan is the wandering albatross, and has the largest wingspan of any bird in the world, reaches up about 12 feet. So that's a lot of wing out there. It's also the most far-ranging birds. So some of these individuals circumnavigate the Southern Ocean. That's the ocean that surrounds Antarctica about 3 times a year. And so they cover about 75,000 miles a year. Boy, a lot of frequent flyer miles there. But once these guys take off, they don't come back to land for years. So they'll be out there for quite a while before they come back for breeding and that kind of thing. The largest nest that has been recorded was a bald eagle nest down in Florida, 10 feet wide and 20 feet deep, and weighed about 2 tons. And the reason they know how much it weighed is because it collapsed in a storm. and took down the tree and everything. So it collapsed, But yeah, these things get really, really huge, and they just keep stacking the sticks on, and so never saw a stick they didn't like. The shortest bird migration, okay? The dusky grouse is a chicken-like bird that lives over there in the northwest, and it migrates just 900 feet. during, during the winter, it goes up in the mountains and it lives in the pine forest, and it eats pine seeds and stuff like that. And then when spring comes, it actually goes down 900 feet on the mountainsides to the woodlands where there's all kinds of new seeds and leaves and buds and things like that. So very short migration.
Yeah.
Not far to go. Same old place, 1,000 feet away. But the longest bird migration belongs to the Arctic tern, and it has it's a medium-sized bird. We usually don't see them around here. They're mainly coastal birds, so we don't see them come through here. But they're not a very big bird, but they travel about 56,000 miles every year, pole to pole.
Wow.
So they go from Greenland, Labrador, Newfoundland up that way, and some of them actually breed down in Maine. And they circumnavigate. So they start off and they go across the North Sea to England, down the coast of France and Spain, and all the way along. They follow the coast basically all the way across Morocco, Western Africa, down the Cameroons, and across all the way down to Cape Town. Then they go on down to the Arctic or Antarctic, and then across and back up. And then they come back up by South America along the coast. End up down Florida, coming up, the Carolinas, Jersey, New England, and then back up to their nesting areas. And they do that every year, 56,000 miles from pole to pole.
Wow.
And and they live a long time, 30 years. So they calculate that if you take that trip every year in a lifetime, that's equivalent to going to the moon and back 3 times. Wow, that's a lot, So
That's a lot of traveling.
That's a lot of traveling. But we do have some other migrations to talk about. High altitude migration. Bar-headed geese, which are found up in Asia, migrate between Mongolia and the Tibetan Plateau and northern China down into India, and they have to cross the Himalayas. So they go down to Nepal, India, Bhutan, those areas, and so they fly above the Himalayas, reaching altitudes of over 28,000 feet. So so there's very little oxygen up there, less than 10% oxygen content at that level. And still they make it across there. There's some other birds that fly high across the Himalayas also. There's like demoiselle cranes, sometimes the Saurus cranes, and some of those that migrate across. But so it's not unusual to see pictures of mountain climbers on top of Mount Everest watching birds fly overhead, so some of the birds really, really get up there. But for long haul flights, okay, the giant snipe, which is, yes, there really are snipes in the world. I know you've been on a snipe hunt with a flashlight in a bag, but there are giant snipes, or there are snipes. And so the great snipe, which spends its winters down in Saharan Africa and then go up to Scandinavia, northern Europe. They travel about 4,300 miles overland, and they don't even take a break, okay? So they fuel up, get lots of food on board, and then they take off, and they go straight on across France and Italy and all those places, and across the Mediterranean down into sub-Saharan Africa. So sub-Saharan Africa, that would be the places like Ethiopia, Tanzania, that range of countries. So it's the fastest long-haul flight, okay? It averages about 60 miles an hour over a distance of 4,300 miles.
Wow.
So impressive little bird.
Yeah.
Loses half its weight by the time it gets there, but,
Really?
and considering, it's a bulky little bird. It's not really, doesn't look very aerodynamic, so it's a little pudgy thing. Another long hauler is the bar-tailed godwit. These guys breed up in Alaska, up in Kamchatka Peninsula, places like that, and then they go down to New Zealand. And that's all across the Pacific Ocean.
Wow.
So they fly nonstop, takes them about 9 days to get from Alaska down there. So, and they show back up, and it's just utterly amazing why they do that. They don't even stop in Hawaii. They just keep on going.
Amazing.
And there's some other guys that breed up there. The golden plovers nest up there in Alaska. They fly straight on down to Hawaii. And they land at the same exact spot every year. They have the same little piece of lawn or whatever where they spend their winters, and then it's back north again. So I complain about I used to complain about going to work in the mornings. I thought that was a long haul, but this is kind of like, this is really a long trip. But can you imagine having enough fuel on board that you can make it?
Wow.
This for a small guy that travels a lot. Red knots. These are birds that are found. We see them occasionally here inland, but most of them are along the coast. And so this bird is not very big. I mean, it's about the size of maybe a grackle. It's not a very big bird. It has a wingspan about 20 inches, and so it flies all the way from Chile or Argentina all the way up to Canada. It nests along the Arctic Ocean. And so 9,500 miles. They do have some stopover points, which are really in a lot of trouble. This is some red knots feeding on eggs from horseshoe crabs. So they time their flight so they get there, and the horseshoe crabs are laying their eggs, and then the red knots. And they're in a lot of trouble because as much as everybody talks about conservation up there in the Northeast, they're encroaching in all these places. Plus also, people are overfishing, taking the crabs and stuff. And so there's fewer and fewer crabs laying eggs. So the red knots are in a lot of trouble. And but they're kind of a neat little bird. But just think, 9,500 miles. I hate flying cross country.
Yeah.
But then I have to be with people. So, but for flightless migration, we have the Adelaide penguin, travels about 11,000 miles every year.
Wow.
And basically what they do is after breeding season is over, they go out to the edge of the ice shelf, and they have to be right next to the sea so they can get krill and stuff to eat. And so as the ice comes on during the wintertime, they're forced further and further out, and essentially what they do is they circumnavigate the North Pole or the South Pole. And so they go all the way around there, and then when spring finally comes, then they can get back up on land and go back to their nesting site or their breeding grounds. So 11,000 miles every year making that trip around, but they always have to be on the edge of the ice shelf, okay, so they can get access to the food. Another long migrator is a short-tailed shearwater. Of course, we don't get any shearwaters here, but they're really fantastic birds, very long-winged, very aerodynamic design. So they essentially, in fact, very rarely do you actually see them flying. They actually glide. So they're depending upon the wind that comes off the waves and stuff like that. If you go out on a boat on a still day, you won't see a shearwater anywhere. But boy, you get to see a little rough, and up they come, and you'll see them skimming across, looking like elevated surfers. Just skimming across the waves, down in the troughs, and getting those winds and up off the wave tops. So anyway, these guys go again from Tasmania, which is south of Australia. They come up the coast all the way to Kamchatka and the Russian Far East, then around to the Aleutian Islands, and then back down the west coast, all the way back down the Pacific, and they just go round and round. And so again, but the thing is that if they're breeders, they return to the same burrow every year. They breed in the ground, so they go back to the same place there in Tasmania to breed. So almost 10,000 miles during migration.
Wow.
Just amazing what birds can do. Well, the highest flyer that's been recorded is Ruppel's vulture. They got remarkable eyesight, so they use their vision to find food. And so what they do is they go as high as they can possibly go to get a good viewpoint. And the highest flight for a Ruppel's vulture, it was at 37,000 feet, where it flew into a jet engine.
Oh.
These guys are found in Africa, the Sahel region, which is that part that's just below the Sahara Desert in that area. From the west coast of Niger, Chad, across over to Ethiopia, and so up there, the bird has about a 10-foot wingspan.
Wow.
Okay, so they're really huge birds, and but they get a lot of lift up there, and they go up really high. So
That's neat.
37,000 feet.
Wow.
You know, so yeah. I bet that was a surprise to somebody. Well, two people, the bird and the jet or the pilot. You know, two guys were kind of surprised. Like, you can fly up this high. So it's just amazing what birds can do. You know.
Yes.
And I suspect that part of the thing they get is to get a lot of hot air that rises up off the desert to give them a thermal to lift on. So that's how they get some of that altitude up there. The loudest bird recorded in the world is the white bellbird, and it has been recorded at 125 dB. To give you an idea, if you went to one of those heavy rock concerts, or that's about 110 dB. All right, so 125, wow. That's enough to cause immediate damage to your hearing. And let's see if I can get this thing to play here. I know there's another one on here. So that's an amazing sound, isn't it?
That's weird. It sounds like feedback.
Yeah. Anyways, that's so that's a bellbird, and yeah, you go down in the jungles down there, and you can hear them. There's I think about 5 or 6 flavors of bellbirds found from Trinidad on down, and the white bellbirds found in the Guianas, and then they leak over into Venezuela, those areas, but mainly the Guianas, and so kind of a neat sound, boy, and that sound just carries and carries and carries. They're fruit eaters primarily, and so they eat a lot of fruits and things like that. But and there's one that you saw the wattles hanging there. There's one called a 3-wattle bellbird that has 3 wattles that hangs down, and there's several other bellbirds. But there's about 5 or 6 species of bellbirds that you find throughout the neotropics. Okay, the lowest diver, okay, is held by the emperor penguin down to 1,800 feet below. You know, so that is really going deep. You know, and they can stay down for about 30 minutes. So it's kind of like, this is a fantastic thing that these guys do. You know, and while we're talking about diving, I was watching a animal rehab program the other day, and they're trying to capture an injured duck, and she didn't want to be captured. She went out on the lake. And I actually watched her swimming underwater. Could swim 30 or 40 feet underwater. You know, she just dove under there, and which is a good thing. You know, escape. You know, so what you got there?
The lyrebird.
Oh, the lyrebird. Yeah.
They can make sounds like.
Yeah, we did that 2 weeks ago.
We did.
Yeah, we did that. I tell you, she doesn't watch my programs. I'm offended. I'm hurt.
That wasn't me, guys.
That wasn't you. Yeah. We won't tell you Jill's name, okay?
I watch every program.
You watch everyone. The heaviest flying bird's the Cory bustard, and this is found down in Africa. First one we saw was in the Cameroons, and we actually I do have a picture someplace of it flying, but it weighs about 42 pounds. But it only can fly short distances, not really long distances. Most birds, when they reach about 26 pounds, that's about it for flying. After that, it's a lot of mass to get up into the air. So, but a Cory bustard feeds on insects, lizards, snakes, things like that. So it's like a little miniature ostrich in a way. The strongest claws and feet, well, the harpy eagle. Okay, so we suspected that would be on here somewhere.
Yes.
So they're able to take on prey their own weight. I've seen them down there. The only thing I've ever seen them carrying is a big, looked like about a 15-foot long snake. Wow. But I happened to miss by about one eye flicker a harpy eagle carrying a howler monkey. We were down in Guyana, and it flew across the road, and I just missed it. Somebody said, "Hey, look," and All I saw was the
Yeah.
tail of the harpy eagle disappearing.
Wow.
But so they can take a number of things. But to give you an idea how big their feet are, the hind toe, the helix claw is about 4 inches long, which is about the same as a claw of a grizzly bear. And when you get up close to one of these harpy eagles, I've been about maybe 12 feet from one, and its leg is as thick as my wrist. You know, they're huge and they're big and they're powerful. So that's a really big guy. You know, but I've been fortunate enough. I've seen 5 or 6 of them over the years, and it's kind of like, man, they're just big, and they're basically a forest bird. Okay, they're not a soaring bird. So a lot of times they'll just sit up like this one is sitting up, and they'll just sit there and wait. They'll listen, and what they'll do is if it's a short distance away, they'll fly to another limb and another limb until they can spot their prey, and then they basically drop on the prey. Or in the case, I guess you've seen some films of a sloth being taken off a tree, and I won't tell you about that miserable story. But anyways, but yeah, they will come along. But yeah, if there's a monkey sitting out there all by itself, it's toast. You know, they're gonna go and get it. So
Eagle
so,
food.
but big eagle weighs in there at about 25, 26 pounds. Doesn't have a great big wingspan because basically it's a forest bird. Okay, just like the accipiters. So it has relatively short, rounded wings, so it can navigate through the trees and the bushes and stuff. So it's not really a soaring bird. Fastest bird, well, everybody knows that. Peregrine falcons, they're fast all the time, particularly when they're diving. You know, so normally speed on the ground is about 33 miles an hour, 35 miles an hour. But in a dive, they can get up to 238 miles an hour. So they're really fast birds, fastest animal on the earth. But there's always a but. There's always a but. So the peregrine might be fast, okay? But when it comes to level flight, gray-headed albatross, you look at this guy here. Look at how aerodynamically designed that bird is, and it can cover off about 79 miles an hour. So they measured. Wow. They had one of these guys tagged, and they tracked it. You know, during a storm for over 8 hours, it was clocking it at 79 miles an hour. So just amazing that there's some birds out there that they can outspeed. Well, even pigeons can outfly a peregrine. Yeah. You know, so somebody asked a question here somewhere.
Somebody texted me.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
There we go.
Sorry, I got distracted. You know, these damn phones. Okay. So anyway, so there's all kinds. Yeah. So a pigeon can outfly a peregrine, but not when the peregrine's in a dive or a swoop after it. But level flight, they can give it a real run for its money. So some other things like who has the longest bill? Wow. Okay. This is a sword-billed hummingbird found down in the Andes, and it has the body's only like 5.5 inches, but it has a bill about 4 inches long, so it can get deep into some of those big conical flowers down there, and you can so it gets right into those. And you go to some of the lodges and stuff down in the Andes, and they'll have hummingbird feeders out, and yes, they can get that thing in there, you know. But can you imagine? There's a tongue that goes all the way out that thing, and in the picture they can just barely see the tip of the tongue there, just barely sticking out. So, and like it says here, for preening, for example, it has to do it with its feet. It can't preen with its beak, you know. So it's either that or you get your friend to do it.
Right.
You know? Sharpest hearing.
Oh.
Okay.
I know that bird.
I know that bird. That's Monet. Okay,
That's Monet.
so anyways, the barn owl, they say, has such complete, great hearing that in complete darkness it can hear the heartbeat of a mouse. I'm not quite sure about that fact, but yes, they do have really sensitive hearing. They have those facial feathers. Remember, we talked about those being the philo plumes, okay, that help the sound go back to the ears, and the ears are offset, right, so that they can triangulate. So it's one of the most successful auditory predator around. So, And there's some other record holders. Longest legs belong to the lesser flamingo. Jacanas have the longest toes. Okay, they have toes that are up to about 4 inches long. The biggest mouth, the tawny frog mouth, which is about the size of our nighthawk, has a 2 inch wide gap there, so it can get stuff in there. The lightest bird is the giant frigate bird. In fact, they say that all the bones of a frigate bird weigh less than its feathers. So that's fantastic. Royal albatross has a lifespan of 40 or more years. The strongest stomach, remember we talked about the bearded vultures going up there and dropping the bones, the bone breaker, okay, Lammergauer, okay. So they have the strongest thing, so they can dissolve bones up to 9 inches in length, And then the biggest appetite is a little Cuban toady. That's a little bird. It's a little bit bigger than a hummingbird, and it more messages, huh? Okay, and eats about 1,500 food items a day. Okay, usually insects, and during breeding season when it has nestlings to feed, it does more. So there's all kinds of record holders out there for things.
Yeah.
You just don't think about it. But anyways, so we're into raptors.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're going. So some of the records that are held. So we have things. Who's the smallest owl? Well, the smallest owl is the elf owl, which is found down in the Southwest. You'll see them over there and along the Rio Grande, Texas area, and you'll see them over into Arizona, New Mexico, that area. And they're small. I mean, look at how small that thing is. It's got, about 3 inches. They're really cuter than bugs here. In fact, the moths they go after are bigger than the elf owls. And Blanket's fishing owl we talked about before. That's the largest owl. It's bigger than the Eurasian eagle owls. And these guys are found up in Hokkaido and Kamchatka, that area. And they go after fish. And fish owls don't make any noise, or they make noise. They don't have the silencer on their wings. So so they have about I think about a 7.5 foot wingspan, and they're really heavy birds. So they're in there in a range of about 15, 16 pounds. So I'm sorry, but Chewy's a baby compared to these guys.
Yeah,
so he's nowhere near that. So when it comes to falcons, the smallest falcons are these little black-thighed falconets. They're just slightly bigger than a house sparrow. And they're really cute, cuter than bug's ears. So anyway, so these little guys, they're found down in Southeast Asia, and they're really neat little birds, and you almost don't pay attention to them because there's another sparrow, but no, it's these little guys. So and they take a number of small insects, things like that, and the largest falcon is the gyrfalcon, which is found up in the Arctic regions, and you find them up in Greenland, northern Canada, up in Alaska. First one of these I saw was actually going after a ptarmigan, and that was up in Alaska. Where was that? That was around Nome, I think. It was in Nome, and we came around a corner on a road, and there was this bird chasing this big white bird was chasing this small white bird. Said, wow. That's really impressive. So these guys have about a 4 foot wingspan, okay? Bigger than peregrines, okay? So they're about 40% bigger than a peregrine, to give you an idea. So they're bigger birds. For eagles, we have the little eagle, which you would guess is small. It's smaller than our red-tailed hawk. And then you had the Philippine, used to be called the monkey-eating eagle, but they changed the name for political correctness. So now it's the Philippine eagle. And again, it's in the harpy family. So it's arguably slightly, about maybe 20%, no, not even 20, about 15% larger than a harpy eagle. Oh, wow. So it doesn't have quite the big heavy legs like the harpy, but it's got longer wings, and again, it's a forest bird, and they're in a lot of trouble because they don't have the protection there like they do here, but it's their national bird, so it does have some protection. But the first time I saw one of those flying, I thought it was an airplane, a little Cessna passenger plane, kind of like we were coming down off a mountain, and we could look across the valley, and here was this thing, looked like it was going in for a landing.
Wow.
It possibly was. So hawk records, tiny hawk. This is a little accipiter, and it's found down in the neotropics here in the Western Hemisphere, and it's about the size of a starling. So to give you an idea, so it's smaller than our sharp-shinned hawk, and so it's an accipiter just like a Sharpie or a Cooper. Largest hawk is the upland buzzard. This is a buteo, just like our red tail. It's bigger than the ferruginous hawk, which is the biggest hawk we have in the United States. So it's about 30% bigger than a red tail, to give you an idea.
Good size hawk.
So it's a good size hawk.
Yeah.
It's a good size hawk, but essentially behaves the same way. And this bird here is found in Africa, and so some of the most colorful birds. So we thought we'd end it on a happy note because look at that, we're almost out of time. So
Oh my.
so scarlet macaw, mandarin duck,
Yeah.
Gouldian finches, Wilson's bird of paradise, rainbow lorikeet, and our American wood duck.
Yeah.
So those are just some of the colorful birds that are out there. So so there's all kinds of stuff out there, And I'm going to conclude this the way I concluded every week. In conclusion,
Wow.
wow, birds are great, So
Yeah.
so it's kind of like. So that's why I'm a bird head, okay? So it's, and I hope that you guys are going to be bird heads too. So let's see, some announcement we have coming up here. So we have some upcoming events, all right? So some that are open to the public, some that aren't, but we're going to tell you about them. So Tin Caps Baseball, okay, on June 8th, okay, we're going to be out there at 7 o'clock. So you get to meet some of us. On the 10th, we're going to be down at Wabash State Park. And it's a lunch and learn at noon, and I'm sure that they'll welcome you. I'm not sure what's for lunch, but I hope it's something good. They usually feed us, but we don't get much of a chance to eat because everybody has so many things they want to know about birds. Up in Ligonier on the 18th, we'll be there at the summer reading program at the library. Let's see, on the 22nd, we're going to be doing a bird watching thing there at Eckert Park. So right there on Cedar Street on the south end of Auburn. Then somehow we're going to be out there on the 24th downtown at the Promenade Park doing some kind of Three Rivers dance or something. I don't know. It's going to be fun. It's going it's going to look like those dancing hippos in Fantasia. It's got to be, And then we're going to be up at Goshen on the 28th of June. And so at the library. But we have some other things coming up, so check with your local organization. So we're going to be at St. Andrew's Church this Saturday, I think, and then the Cub Scout Pack on Trier Road on I think was it Tuesday? Cedarville Elementary. We're going to be over there next week. Southern Wells Elementary School, St. Charles Cub Scouts over there in Ohio. Garrett Middle School, we're going to be there, and then we're going to be at Camp Little Turtle. So we're going to be all over the place.
Yep.
So check in, see where we're going to be. You can get to meet us, meet the birds, and help out the other organizations. And don't forget, Jeff, Poe, and need their fish. Okay, so if you have fish, panfish, that kind of thing. We don't take carp and we don't take catfish, but we'll take the others. You don't have to fillet them or anything. Pop them in the freezer or in a bag of ice. Bring them on down. Or if you want to, keep them live in a bucket. Bring them. Jeff really loves to chase live fish, so that'll be great. So don't forget, there's some opportunities for teachers. We're sending out a survey here shortly for teachers to fill in to see what they want to see us do. And we have personal growth possibilities for the summer. So you can contact us about something that you can do with us. And, or you can help design your own science programs. We'll help you out, and we'll help you out with some of that. Don't forget the Soaring Hawk Raptor Adventure. We're getting a lot of people who are really interested in this. And so you get to get a nice tour. You get to meet all the feathered ambassadors, get some nice pictures taken with the birds. But the big thing is you talk to the volunteers one-on-one. You get to find out more about the adventures of working out here at Soarin' Hawk and all the fun that we have. So don't forget, we do programs for schools, homeschoolers, community groups, scouts, churches, retirement homes. We'll do special things. We'll do birthdays, weddings, Eagle Awards, block parties and baby showers. So bring any unwanted mice and rats to your baby shower. The parents will love it. And don't forget, Father's Day is coming up. Okay, so surprise Dad. With come on out. Give Dad, let him take the kids out for the day. Moms, you can stay home and catch up with your reading club or something. Okay, so, or the other thing is you can take the kids out, leave Dad home, let him get that lawnmower running. Okay, so, anyway, so Father's Day is coming up. It makes a fantastic gift. And the spring fundraiser is still running. It goes through the 31st. We have a goal of $4,500, and we're halfway there. Okay,
Yeah.
in fact, we're a little more than halfway. So anyone who donates $15 or more gets a nice silicone wristband. Okay, with our contact info on it. Okay. Oh, she's got hers there.
Yeah, I got mine
you
already.
can't see it there. Okay. Anybody that donates $250 will have an opportunity to come to our Soarin Hawk Raptor adventure. And then anybody gives $1,000, we'll come out to you. We'll bring our birds out there, and so you'll get the experience right there in your front room, okay, or your living room, or in the front. Well, maybe the front yard, okay,
Right.
okay. So, but please give what you can to help out the young raptors. We're already starting to get baby birds, and fortunately, most of the ones that have come in, we've been able to put back up in the nest. But still, if we have to feed them, it costs a lot. Well, you know how much it costs to raise kids. So it's about the same for us. So don't forget Amazon Smile. Take those that excess check that you got from Joe Biden and put it to good work. So help out the economy and then help out us. We get a little kickback. And don't forget community rewards. Okay, from Kroger's. If you have your reward card, sign up for Soarin Hawk as being your charity that you want to designate to. And we get quarterly, we get about $450 from them, which is really nice. It's
Yes.
really good. But if we get more people, we get more money. Okay, so think about us. And I know it sounds like I'm always begging money, doesn't it? Yes, I am.
Well, unfortunately, we need money.
Unfortunately, yeah,
The birds need money.
Yeah. So the birds need money. It's those demanding birds that are asking for the money. It isn't us. So.
It's those birds. We're just speaking for them.
So, anyways, if you have a topic that you want us to talk about, contact us. We can do all kinds of things. There's all kinds of stuff out there to learn about birds. And somewhere along the line, I think we're gonna have to start repeating, right? Yeah. So, anyways, take care of nature. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Okay, bye everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next week.